Hey, man, what's up?
What's up? I'll tell you what's up, man. This is the podcast where old men and women they talk about plastics and we get a rage and the gloves are coming off and all that.
That's it. That's it.
Welcome to Car.
Calling all retro gamers.
Calling all retro gamers.
Calling all retro gamers.
Calling all
retro gamers.
What's going on, everyone?
All right, you know what? I needed that opening. I'm energized.
That's it. I'm all about it. I'm pumped.
Because prior to this, the wife and I were watching Olympics on the couch, and I was getting a little bit sleepy. I'm like, I need to wake up, and so that did it. Welcome everyone.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Calling All Retro Gamers. One of your hosts, Rich Haywood, here from Bacon Ice Cream Productions and Team RTFC, and to my stage left here is Ed RetroKillDashNine.
RetroKillDashNine. Hi, Ian.
Ian Hobbies is in there, right on time. What's going on?
Whew.
Come on, Ian. We got Rigatoni in the house. What's going on?
Yeah.
Found Rich on Facebook. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I saw it. Yes, that is for sure. Yeah, we got a good show for you guys today. We're hanging in. We're talking about all sorts of fun stuff. We our topic preview, I guess, is we're going to talk about the Atari VCS for a little bit. We're going to talk about AAA or modern game guilty pleasures, and we're going to talk about some retro IP that may or may not need to be revisited and why. So all that and more. Coming to some ears near you. But first, some intro, some relax, some chat. So how has it been? How has this last 2 weeks of retro stuff been for you, Ed? What's going on?
Well, pretty good. You just saw the video that I came out with earlier today. A lot of built up rantiness, and people.
Yes.
people seem to like that. Been watching. Wife and I have been watching a lot of the Olympics.
Nice.
And I'll say the only way to watch that is through a VPN using the Canadian Broadcasting Gems app, which is it's kind of like Netflix for the Olympics. You go through and you can see the events as long as they haven't aired. And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and all that. You don't have to suffer through. Well, actually, no. I take that back. They, for some reason, they do have commercials that intersperse and all that, but you actually get to see the events like the biathlon and other things that like the U.S. we're not as good at, but that are that's, for those of you who don't know, that's the event where you have to like ski around and then use like a customized rifle and like aim at the targets when like you're just like adrenaline's pumping, and so I love those other events doing that. Still healing up nicely, and those of you who are watching us knows of that.
Yeah. Very good.
I'm raised up on a donut here, and
nice. Very good to see that.
Yep, good stuff. Been keeping up with retro goodness. Of course, playing the Evercade, playing Game Boy Advance, and all that fun stuff. And
nice, excellent.
Yeah, busy with work and awesome things in life, and here we are today.
Yeah. Well, it's basically been the same story over here. Just been hanging out and chilling. Doing a lot of the work stuff. The work's getting in the way. Doing some Evercade stuff, of course, because we got to do our stuff for the show. And then but I did get to sneak in some other game time. We got this little gem right there.
Ooh.
Football on Game Gear. Did my live stream over the weekend on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
Did my annual play the Super Bowl teams against each other in Joe Montana football and see how it goes. For the first time ever playing the Joe Montana game, I was able to shut out the CPU completely through all 20 minutes of play, which was awesome.
Nice.
Nothing or something like that. I was trying to play as Cincinnati, but I accidentally picked LA. But the team was orange anyway that I was playing with. It was like, I'm just going to pretend it's Cincinnati. Didn't work, though, because they didn't win. But, it was like my good luck charm. Didn't work. But
fun fact about the Super Bowl. So I'm into sports. If there's like a winning team that like people in the family are just we. My wife's side of the family in Kansas City.
Mm.
You know, they're like, you know, if it's kind of like if the Royal, you know, baseball, if the Royals or the Chiefs, if they go, then I care. But since they didn't
Right.
go, I was like, man, I didn't have any interest in the Super Bowl. Plus the Olympics are on. I'm like, Super Bowl comes around every year, every 4 years. I'm gonna watch the other sports. So, you know.
Yep. Yeah, no. Winter Olympics is actually one of my favorites. You know, between the two, I favor the Winter Olympics because I don't know. I guess maybe it was because when I had an old Apple IIe, maybe Winter Games on the Epic's Winter Games game, that was my favorite of the series. You know, between winter, summer, and California, winter was the one that I wanted to play the most. So maybe that's why I just have an affinity for the winter sports and the Winter Olympics. But I don't know, there's something about them. You know, like most of those sports are all also high intensity, like high risk, high risk, high reward sports. You know, like say what you want about figure skaters or figure skating. That is a dangerous game.
Yeah,
playing like you're on a solid sheet of ice. You know, like launching yourself. You know, like 5-6 feet in the air, doing all sorts of crazy spins and whatever, and you got to come down on something that's basically a knife's edge.
Yeah, that's what if you notice if you see any figure skaters fall, they'll tuck their hands in because you don't want to land in some weird way and cut your hands.
Yeah, you can crack an elbow or up your hand.
Snowboarding, skiing, going off the ramps, skeleton and bobsled, all that good stuff. But welcome to the Olympics, chat, everyone. But yeah, no, definitely it's good. Hopefully, anybody who hasn't gotten caught up, highly recommend.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and we got some fans in here. Hey, Patrick Smith, you loving the biathlon? Yeah. Hey, what's up, Chris Westerman? What's going on?
Hey.
What's going on? Go Royals.
There we go. Royals.
Yep. Winter Olympics are more visuals now with HD. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah, super cool to watch. Yeah, of course. So, all right, awesome. Nothing much more going on in the world of here, except for one thing. I did get to hook up my Ouya. I did get to do that. I did that actually live on a live stream with Pete. I got bored on Friday night and was chatting around with him. And then he pulled out his Ouya and he's like, you know what? You got yours. And I had it right there. I like hooked it up and I was like, yeah, there it is. I was like, hook it up, because I was playing something. I was playing on the VS, just random games. And he's like, do it, hook it up. And then we did. And then we were just playing around with like,
Did you get it working and connected to the private server or whatever where you could download all the?
Yep. Yeah, I got it fully up and running. I already had it hooked up that way. Because there was a huge community. It's been out there for years, keeping this thing alive. And there's a select group of devs that actually make games still for this thing. And they put it out every 6 months. So there's a summer game jam, and a winter game jam. And then they just put out it's like 6 or 7 small devs, and they put out 6 or 7 games. They're all free.
Yeah,
they give themselves a time limit. It's like 2 or 3 weeks to make a game based on a theme. So this past winter's theme was just the holidays in general. So it was kind of weird. Like there was somebody made a holiday fighter, where every character was named there was a female fighter character that was named Holly Berry. It's
that's awesome.
It's pretty hilarious. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It was neat. Rigatoni says, yeah, the controller felt so cheap. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it is pretty cheap feeling.
Does the Ouya have any USB ports on it?
On the Ouya controller?
No, on the actual console, you couldn't plug in there.
Oh yeah, no, there's a USB port.
I wonder if you can get other wired controllers to work with that. Then that would be awesome.
Oh, of course, yeah, you totally could. But yeah, there's no actual thing on the controller itself. There's all these weird things. This touchpad is actually a touchpad, on a DualShock 4 for the PlayStation is actually a mouse, kind of thing. It's all clicky and weird feeling, but it's okay. It's all right. I mean, at that point it was what do you want for $99, right? The design was cool looking for that. It was just a little square box, right? You know, so it's like an Apple TV that you stack two on top of each other.
And you know, it has the best startup sound where it goes, "Ooh yeah!"
Yes, yeah. It's like a big chorus. Ooh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really neat. You mean you and Peter are the only two people that I still play Mario? Indeed. Bomb Squad and Towerfall was my jam. Yeah, those were two great games. And when Towerfall wound up escaping the Ouya, to go to Ascension, came out on everything, right? It was on Switch, PS3, and all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, people used a PS3 controller. Yeah, you can totally do that. Hey, what's up? What's up, George? What's up?
George Games. But you know what? That's so awesome. And one thing I want to say that I love about the retro and the video game community in general, that they will not let something die. You know how like 10, 20 years later, I'm talking about anything from making like, let's say, mods from Skyrim just to people popping out a new Nintendo cart. I mean, that's for a system that's like 30 years old. You know, it's like it's incredible. And there's like a love and a passion for retro gaming when you see people do that. So that's
absolutely
that's fantastic.
Yeah. and that can lead straight in to our first topic, actually. When speaking of these indie style or very small scale style consoles, what can people do to enhance viability or perhaps make an impact in the current year? So let's slide in and talk a little bit about the Atari VCS. It is, of course, the 50th anniversary of Atari this year in 2022. They're doing all sorts of crazy stuff, starting to like spread out and try to branch out into all sorts of things. Some maybe marginally successful, some maybe not. But that's what this topic is all about. The question that is posed is the Atari VCS poised to make an impact in 2022? So let's dig in there and get some thoughts. What are your thoughts, Ed?
Well, so they've are they still doing their flashback Fridays?
They are. Yep, that has not stopped. It's actually a pretty cool thing, right? When you think about it, it's a very unique way of getting the games launched, so that each one of them has that like kind of spotlight feel. You know what I mean? It's almost like they're getting re-released in a certain order, and they're branching out now beyond just. They started all with 7,800 games, which I thought was a killer move, because putting out each 7,800 game, and they were like dirt cheap. These things are like
$3.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy pickup. And some of the games, aren't as exciting for maybe you or me, right? Because like there are things like this possibly that may exist in the world that have 7,800 games already on them, but for those of you that do not have that, this is a good alternative. But still, there's several games now that have been released on the 7,800 Flashback Friday that are not on any one of those collections, which is cool. Which is real neat.
So here's for making impact. So here's what's kind of interesting, that it's in a unique space, right? Because they're I want to say like diehard Atari collectors or people on Atari age. They already have like the console that's probably AV modded, and they play the games that way, right? Right. And then you have the Retron 77, which, I mean, again, it's still, that's all emulation, but you can use the physical carts, but you can't use like the new ones, or if you really wanted to, you could kind of hack it and sort of have the same experience.
Yeah. With the exception of the 7,800 games, because the 77 doesn't play them. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. And so, but with the VCS, it's kind of interesting because it's like hybrid computer. I mean, like you've done videos where you can play it on the cloud. So it's kind of cool. It's like, I think if you look at it, here's kind of this microcomputer that's a console that can do that can do all these kind of cool things. It can not only play Atari games, then it kind of fits into that space, which is neat. The only thing, and I think that's holding it back, I think Rigatoni kind of hit the nail on the head, is just it's like the price point, right?
Yeah.
Like if they could get it down, or then it would more interest someone like myself, because this is just me. It's kind of, I guess, like the same reason why on PS4 I haven't spent like $20 to buy like those flashback collections is that, you know, like when you point out the Everkid, like I do have like the physical media. Or here's the other thing too, because Atari games are so like they're so cheap, between $5 or $10 for loose. It's almost like, why can't somebody make it like if somebody could make like an FPGA, and this sounds kind of like an FPGA Atari console that can play like 7800, 5200, 2600 games for around that 200 price point with the control, then I would be all in. That's, you know, you know what I mean?
Oh
then
yeah,
that way, because then at that point, you know, then at that point, it's like they are at the price point that you could get them for the VCS, and they'd have physical copies. Now, as far as that, like as far as the $299, like that's priced right. Like for me, if I'm going to buy like a digital game, like that's about the cost. Kind of like when like for me, as much as I love like Konami and Contra, I forget if I mentioned this, like over the holiday sales. I know I told you, like I bought the Contra collection because it was $5 digital. I mainly got it just to play a Contra for Nintendo. And if nothing else, if I played a few times, then, you know, then I'm good. So for me, when it comes to digital media, like I want to be within that $5 to $10 price point or less, but I want to get my value or have a collection when it's digital, because, you know, then it kind of disappears. I will say though, you know, without owning a VCS from watching your videos, I like seeing like the layout. Yeah. Like at least they kind of, you know, at least it's laid out cool. So for a digital console, for what they're doing, and then they have Ant Stream and all that. So what I'm hoping they could do in 2022 is that maybe make a version that maybe they already have one that doesn't have the wood for. Maybe make it like a non-collector's version that doesn't maybe look as nice, and that maybe comes with like one controller for that $200 price point.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, so the Onyx that already exists could be that very thing, and it's all in the packaging, right?
Yeah.
And they've already come down on the all-in what they call the walnut, you know, the wood grain. They've already come down on the walnut as low as $249.99. They had some flash sales like towards the end of the holiday on 2021. I mean, that's pretty good times.
That is.
You know, that actually beat the price that I got my second one for. And I thought I got a killer deal on it. I got it for $299.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because it's normally $399. You know, was the regular price of the thing with the two controllers. And it just so happened to get one that, you know, somebody was just like, I got it on the original deal, which was $299.99. The original, like, it was a Kickstarter Indiegogo, that whatever crowdfunding thing that was for the original VCS pre-order. Somebody had gotten that collector's edition bundle and then, you know, sold it to me for that what they paid for it, which is awesome. So I was happy to get that second one back.
Yeah. So to answer the question, so what would be the biggest impact, what would be really cool is that we know that they have a DOS simulator. So if they would start to release some like, and again, I don't know if they get the rights, but if you could play like old school Doom, if you could play Duke Nukem, if you could play like Sierra point and click, you know, using a mouse thing. I think because it's difficult to play those old DOS games unless you go to like, you know, goodoldgaming.com where you have an old PC, and you know, if they could make it plug and play where it's just, you know, like they do with everything else, you buy the game, boom, it's there. I think that would be good. Like that would be really attractive to me if you could play those like old, like awesome DOS games and have Atari games. And then if they would come out with more arcade Atari games, because I think in the initial bundles you get some good ones, but you don't, you know, you don't get nearly as much as the 7800, 7600 ones. And
the Atari VCS Vault 1 is pretty good, and it has an okay mix. The Vault 2 though is something that Rigatoni, although he doesn't like the DOS box games that have been coming out because they're all flight simulators, the 5200 games do exist on Atari VCS Vault 2 right now. So that would be something that would be cool to start seeing as Flashback Friday games outside of the Vault, because not only can you build that library, you know, the Vault 2 was $5. It was $4.99, and there was 30 games in it. So, you know, like, you know, having those re-releases on the Flashback Friday for $2-3 a piece, does, you know, like you can get that impulse buy and still, you know, be able to generate revenue and be able to build up your team so you can do things like, you know, the things you were suggesting to try to make an impact in the current year.
Yeah.
Now, my opinion as far as whether or not this system is poised to make an impact this year, and maybe not this particular calendar year, maybe not 2022, maybe 2023 could be their year, but this year should be the building year on, hey, you know what? There's already these out in the wild, right? People have their VCS and they want something to do with them. And I really enjoy the fact that they're going back to the roots with the console and saying, hey, if you've got a VCS, you're probably a fan of the old Atari properties. Here's the flashback stuff. And then also that Recharge series is hitting all the right buttons for me. You know, the newer games, having the leaderboards, having the achievements, having all that kind of stuff, even though there are some, still to this day, most of the ones that I play, the leaderboards are a little clunky. They take forever to load. Sometimes they fail on loading.
Ooh,
some QA stuff needs to get fixed for sure, but the bones are there. Somebody there at Atari is going, hey, you know what? If I could just do this one thing, I can hit that retro market and start hitting those nostalgia buttons, and people are going to respond. Yes, please, more of that, so that way we can enjoy more of these things. I mean, it's awesome.
Yes.
I'm really liking the fact that they're dipping into that kind of stuff. I would say lean in a little more with AntStream, because somebody mentioned that in the comments, that it should be a killer. It should be a killer app, because AntStream is a really awesome thing. If they could do some kind of a promotional deal where they're picking up for VCS players that monthly or the yearly fee for AntStream. If you have a VCS,
AntStream is free.
Taking care of it for you.
Yeah.
You get it 1 year for free when you
1
buy
year.
it.
Yeah.
The original collector's edition VCSs. That's cool. I mean, how awesome would it be if they just took care of it, right?
So you know what they could do, Rich, and actually,
so you just play for free. That'd be awesome.
You read my mind. So I was thinking, and this was inspired by you streaming Xbox. What if, because let's say a lot of people they want to be able to play with their friends, or they want the latest Xbox, but you can't get them. What if they did a deal for like $300? You get an Atari VCS 1 year of Xbox Live, and like they include like a 360 controller or something. So it's kind of like.
So that in and of itself, with the VCS, I play all of my Xbox games with this. This is the modern controller by Atari.
Oh, okay. So that works.
It's basically an Xbox.
Basically, okay. So then you wouldn't need. Okay. Yeah.
So you just I would just use it.
Then just $300, and you get like a year. Like you get a free subscription. Or imagine if they did the Xbox for free and the AntStream for 1 year. Then,
Right. Yeah. No. It could be totally cool. But yeah,
that would really be interesting.
I also agree. They need some new IP. They've got a ton of it. They own a whole bunch of IP. They could just dig in and start, going back and recreating some awesome stuff. I'd love to see them revisit some of those classic IP. I thought Black Widow was a slam dunk. Like a super slam dunk. So
look what Christopher said.
Jaguar and Link's game would be cool. Yes, they absolutely would. Like 100% agree, Chris.
And what would be awesome on that? If they included, if they could do a deal with Songbird and include those titles that you could only get as a physical release, if you could get those, and then they could actually make that exclusive to the VCS. You can only get digital.
Right, because it's Atari, right?
Yeah.
Build on that brand recognition and then be like, come to the VCS because you can get all these cool things. And you're hitting that retro button. You're hitting that, like, here's the nostalgia button. If they came out like Flashback Friday, like 2 months from now, and they'd be like, dropped Cybermorph, even though it's not a great game, but they just like, here's a little taste. We've got a Jaguar emulator and it's working.
Yeah, like
have this on the I would be all
dude,
I'd start doing cartwheels
for $2.99.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd buy. Oh, and then before we get off this topic, so George brings up a good George, I'm sorry if I'm saying, brings up a good point about So I know that you can do that, but like just like you could, but then at that point you could just use your PC. So for me, like having the plug and play functionality, and just the ease. Like, a lot of us are capable of doing it, but especially like being rich when you work in technology and in IT all day, the last thing you want to do is configure your own home. It's weird. It's kind of like, I guess, like a car mechanic. they probably,
Right.
they probably get sick of working on their own cars. It's like that, they'd rather just get an Uber somewhere. I don't know. That's
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, there is some of that. There is some of that burnout. And
Yeah.
although it is very intriguing that you can install another OS onto this thing, you can do Windows, you can do any other distro of Linux, because the
Can you do
Atari
Steam
OS
OS?
is its own. It's some kind of. I think it's a Debian custom.
Yeah,
distro.
Steam OS. Yeah.
The Atari OS is a Linux distro that's custom.
Gotcha. Can you install the Steam OS on it? The Steam OS Linux?
I think you can.
Yeah.
I think you absolutely can.
See, that would maybe if you could dual boot it and it was relatively easy, like you could.
Do a Steam and then a yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Then at least you could log into your account and install it, and then you could install whatever games that are viable on Linux. Then that maybe I would do, but beyond that,
or if they had like a Steam Link app that you just put in your Atari OS, because we were talking just a little bit about, somebody said, you mean Game Pass? There's the Atari, hello, the Microsoft Xbox Cloud Gaming app on the Atari VCS store. You don't have to leave to go anywhere. You just hit the app and you're right into cloud, the Xbox Game Pass Cloud Gaming app. That's awesome. That's awesome. If the Atari starts dumping the links library in the VCS and all, yeah, absolutely. And that already could happen. That absolutely could happen. I mean, because if it's emulatable on the Evercade, there's no way they won't be able to put the same or similar emulator on the VCS and start dropping those ROMs. There's no way. There's no way and they should. They absolutely should. Because people will play them. I would get literally every single one of them.
Especially
I still own both Link's collections. I'd buy them all over again.
Yeah. But and especially the homebrew that's exclusive, that you can only get the physical copies of. Would be great. Yeah, no, that's what I mean. For $2.99, if it's a game that you really, I mean, if it's like basketball or something, probably not. But if it's something like Food Fight or something awesome like that, yeah, I probably would.
Right. Yeah. I remember when Steam tried to do those Steambox PCs. They were all like custom builds. They're like, hey, this is gonna run Steam good, and it's like, but did it? It didn't really work out. But hey, they're coming back around now, saying, well, what if your PC was in your hand and it looked like a giant Switch?
Oh yeah.
But that's another topic for
that's what I was going to say. And they're not the only ones. There's other companies, but yeah, that'll be for another card. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Rigatoni's with Classic Gaming Fun. Doesn't want a subpar PC, just wants a dedicated Atari console. I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
Although it is cool that you can do the dual boot thing. I've now owned 2 of these things. I haven't once touched anything other than putting a terabyte SSD on the back of it via USB, so I can expand storage, and that's it. That's the only thing I'm doing. I do want to crack it so I can get it up to 16 gig RAM, but getting into the thing is not so bad. You can get in there, and Pete did that to his. He overclocked it. And put in the extra RAM, and then put a SSD internal, because there's a M.2 slot in the thing for expansion. So that's kind of cool.
If you're going to open it up, you might as well, because the videos that I've seen, you just got to be careful of there's like a ribbon cable. You just got to carefully. So it's like you probably don't want to go in there again. So why not max it out if you're gonna open it up?
I already tore apart my old one, so I wanted to see what was going on. I actually wanted to try to see if I could fix it, but.
Hey, at least you could reuse the case for something if it's viable.
Exactly. Well, there might be something that happens with that one.
Put a pie, put like an Atari pie in there. I don't
know. It might involve another friend. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, tons of great conversation about this topic. But I think since this was such a good topic, and we did go back and forth so much on it, I think maybe we might revisit this topic in a future topic and talk a little more about the Atari VCS. But final thought on mine, I think it is poised to make the starts of an impact in 2022, is my opinion. They just have to focus a little more on delivering that content to the existing user base, so that existing user base can then go out and go, you need to really look at this VCS thing, because they're doing some cool things. And with the Recharge series and with Flashback Friday, I think it's a great start, and I think you just need to see more of And that is my opinion on that. So
Yep.
let's slide out to some guilty pleasure action. So what AAA or modern game is your guilty pleasure?
So yeah, I'll start because this is obviously my question. So as much as I'm into retro, and sometimes yes, as much as I can trash like AAA games or whatever I want it. So
Mhm.
I picked this because I'm like, okay, like there is, I would like to think that, let's say if you're only into AAA games, maybe there's a retro game you like, or maybe someone likes to play Pac-Man. So I'm like, there's
Sure.
regardless of what kind of games, like if you're only into like into RPGs, maybe you're secretly a pinball fan. I don't know. So you know what I mean? So I was like, there has to be something opposite of the genre. And so the reason I brought this up, because there is one AAA game that I've been into since it's been out, and I've kind of talked about this, and I'm sure you know Hearthstone. That's based off World of Warcraft. God, that's been out. Was it like 10 plus years when I came out in beta? So so for me,
For a long time.
and here's there's a few reasons why it's my guilty pleasure. That like ever since I was like little, I've always loved like card games, games of chance, whether it be like poker, blackjack, just anything, and then into the physical cards of Magic the Gathering growing up. And then I think I may have mentioned on the show that when Magic the Gathering did come out online, you had to like spend like real money. I think I talked. I gotta pull my. So I still have some of my cards. I think I talked about that, and then I was at a point where, because it is addicting. You can go into the store like, oh, I want this card. I want to try this deck, and then I had like $500 or so, like, and then it kind of then it hit me like, man, I have all this money tied up in these digital assets, and I kind of felt like I didn't have it. Luckily, I was able to sell it on eBay and kind of get my money back when I put into it. But kind of since then, I was looking to get back involved in some type of card game that either wasn't just a total super pay to win, as a lot of them are, or that wasn't just like too much of a nonsense. And so I've gone back to like the existing Magic Online, but that you really got to do a bunch of grinding. And then and the important few reasons why I play Hearthstone, for one, for Magic, like there are equivalents of like mythic legendaries. You can have 4, you can have 4 of those in a deck. And so it takes a lot more to craft those versus like Hearthstone. You have it's up to a 30 card deck. You can have like only 2 of a card, and the equivalent of their mythic legendaries is actually just a legendary. And usually most decks only have a couple of those, so it's much cheaper. And so I started playing in the beginning, and then to make a long story short, they got to a point where they had too many expansions, and so they started rotating those out every year. And then for me at that point, I really did, because I'm like, okay, I don't mind plunking down $50 every couple of months, getting some cards, growing it, because I own those digitally at least.
Right.
But then when those rotated out, yes, you can play it in a wild, different other modes. I didn't feel like I owned it as much. But the good thing is, because I've been playing it for so long, and they have like a lot of daily quests, as long as you don't have to own every single card in that game. So it's kind of like, as long as you get your daily quests and your weekly quests done, I can essentially play the game for free. So like,
right.
When expansions come out, I use gold. I don't use any real money. And the reason I don't, because it's not worth it to me. And I kind of made this deal with myself that if Hearthstone does become to be pay to win, or if you really have to start to spend a lot of then I'll just stop playing it, because it's been my experience with free to play games. Once you start spending money, then they don't become fun anymore. And I know that sounds silly, because once you start spending money, if it's that kind of pay to win, then you have to keep spending that type of money to keep up with it, right? And then you kind of really see what you're missing. So that's my guilty pleasure. I log in every day. I knock out those quests. You have to get to a certain, and for me, it fulfills that kind of that playing that kind of card game. It's a way for me to, it's a way for me to do that. And at this point, it's one of those things where I enjoy it, but it's not worth spending money, because I don't get any physical assets or anything, really out of it. But that's kind of my, and I've said this before, every kid has kind of ruined me on wanting to have physical media with stores going down. So I don't mind having digital games. It's just, I'm not the kind of person that's going to spend like $60. Like if I spend $60 on a digital game, it better be something I play. Like a fantastic RPG that I played for a whole year. Because we all know those stores and all that. You know what I mean? But a physical copy, it's different, because then, kind of I said in my, latest video, at least you can look at them, you can touch them, you can hold them, hence your Golden Axe Warrior. No matter what, you just get like a lot of enjoyment from the collectible nostalgia value, and you actually get to play it.
That's right.
So
yeah.
That's my guilty pleasure. That's my long-winded answer.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to dip into this chat here, because it's going nuts. We got Rigatoni with a couple of them. Call of Duty,
I
which
used
is
to be.
yeah, that is a good pick. And Madden 22 was the last straw.
Uh-oh.
Not going immediately to get Madden 23. I'm going to wait and see. Yeah, I've heard that. Although the marketing campaign was a little deceptive, they were really pushing Madden 22, saying it was going to be something special. But a lot of fans didn't really like it. Madden is also another good pick because it's one of those games that you just keep going back and getting each new year's game just to see what changed. And sometimes there's not much. It's just a roster update pretty much, and it's maybe some prettier graphics. But sometimes they'll put in this like new mode, and it just completely changes the way you play.
Yeah. Changes but the thing about that in Call of Duty, and kind of one of the reasons too for a second why I did stop playing Call of Duty is those are the two kind of games actually that I wish they would offer as a service because those are the kind of games that you want to play online. And they constantly keep changing and evolving. And especially Call of Duty, like they make you rebuy a whole new game every year and you have to grind everything out. I feel like if you didn't have to start over and if you could just pay like $10 a month and play everything as much as you want, and you can only really, yes, they have offline campaign modes, but since you can only play it online, then you might as well. But I feel like sometimes with some AAA games, especially with Call of Duty, like the companies are a little bit too greedy. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you never know what's going to happen with Call of Duty now that the big M is gonna.
Oh yeah, maybe Microsoft will make it right.
On tomorrow, next year. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Great answers though.
That's just saying. Yeah, absolutely. Chris Westerman, anything Resident Evil. That's a great series. That's awesome. Just kick back, and there's so many to choose from now. I mean, what is there? There's eight mainline titles plus all sorts of spin-off games
and remasters.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, for sure. Rigatoni's back again. Love playing most newer games like Cyberpunk Next Gen Patch just got released. That's a lot of people are trying to give that a revisit. Love Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rocket League, but majors out. Yes, all of those. So with Rocket League, I actually played more of supersonic, acrobatic, robot-powered battle cars than I did Rocket League, which was its predecessor. And I almost like that version of the game better than Rocket League because that first version had two different modes. And one of them was basically Rocket League. And then the other was this kind of a more open battle where it was like kind of like a battle Mario Kart kind of thing.
That's cool.
Which was really, really neat. Yeah, I almost want Rocket League to put those like old levels or whatever in a like a DLC drop, and I'd buy it again.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it was really. I mean, that first PS3 game. I gotta go find. Oh, I do have my Slim somewhere. I gotta go find it, and I don't know if you can get that stuff from the store anymore. And if you can't, then I'm gonna be a sad face, but I want to get that game and just Fun for 5 that game. And just
you have to get that from your local retro store.
Yeah, look at the roots. I mean, it was a digital title. So, it's digital only. So I'm like, oh man, I got to find that so I can show people, look, this is what Rocket League was before it was Rocket League.
Well, if they have it, you better get it quick.
I was all about telling people about that game. People were like, what is this silly game? It's got like 10,000 words in its name. And it's like, just trust me, this game's going to go places. And then, 4 years later, Rocket League blows up. And I'm like, there it is. It's
That's
that
awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. So Ian hobbies, as I love motorsport, mine's F1 2020. Since I don't have a powerful PC or console, I found great use for the cloud gaming platform. So I'm enjoying it on Google Stadia, which is awesome. That's
nice.
Really cool. That's very, very cool. Horizon Forbidden West is going to probably be awesome. I'm not going to be able to play it, but it's going to be awesome. RIP my PS4s. Also RE8 and Cyberpunk. Yeah. Spider-Man and Miles Morales. Spider-Man was an awesome game. I do remember playing that for a little bit. Download PS5, Cyberpunk. Hopefully tomorrow start it up. I agree with Ed. Also love playing single player campaign also for Call of Duty, which is cool.
Oh, cool.
And Oh yeah, so that game is still up, which is awesome. Supersonic Acrobatic Battle Cars is still up on the store, which is
So,
awesome.
Rich, what's your guilty pleasure?
So my guilty pleasure game is actually truly a guilty pleasure because it is just such a wild game and so out of character for someone like me to say that I really enjoy this game, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about this game. It's gross. It's like horrible, but I absolutely love it. And that game is Sniper Elite.
Oh wow!
I absolutely love that series. I don't know why. I don't know why I do. It's just like it was the first time I ever saw the game. I was completely blind. I didn't know. I didn't see any trailers. I didn't know anyone was talking about it. I think it was one of those things where it was like it was $5 somewhere, and then someone. I think it was when I was working at GameStop. Somebody came in and they were like hyped. They wanted to get this new game, and I think it was Sniper Elite 3, and it was coming out that year, and they were super hype about it. And I had never heard about this game, and I was like, you know what? Let me just pick up a copy because like if this guy is so amped, I gotta see what it is. And then you play the first couple levels, and all it is just a simple like sneak shooter, right? And then you you get the guy in the sights, and then the first time you line up somebody in the sights and you pull the trigger and it does that like super matrix slow-mo thing, it's like, what is happening in my life right now? And then it gets worse because like I said, it's so horrible. It's the poor guys that you're shooting. It goes through like the guy's arm, like X-rays. It goes through his like chest and stuff. It's like all the stuff's blowing up inside. I'm like, what is happening? But something in my brain is just like, I can't believe somebody made this.
Yeah.
It's just I just couldn't.
It's so crazy. It's so satisfying. Yeah, I think I have one of those that was available like in a humble bundle like a long time ago on Steam. So yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's like
it's a total nostalgia.
It's like
game.
Mortal Kombat the shooter.
Yeah, yes.
You know, like
that's
it
a
really
perfect
is.
analogy.
It really is. I was like, I don't know what it is, but that's it. That is my official guilty pleasure because anytime any one of those games comes out, something in my brain goes, ooh, let me check that out.
You surprised Rigatoni. Well, cool. Well, that's the idea for that question. It's supposed to be. It's like I like Hello Kitty Island Adventure. It's supposed to be like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's also on Stadia. Oh, check it out. Check it out on Stadia. It's pretty crazy. Nice. My wife loves Call of Duty, so when I get tired of it, her play pulls me back in. Nice.
Dude, I totally get. Yeah, no, I totally get it. So what do we have for this third topic?
Ooh, third topic.
I know it's one you picked.
It is.
I don't even really know what
that third topic is.
Yeah.
What retro IP still needs to be revisited and why?
Yes.
So what has been out there that hasn't been revisited, that hasn't had a sequel or anything, and why does it need to be revisited?
Oh, okay. So, I got you. So you're not okay. So you're not talking about a specific franchise. You're talking about like those
some
games.
kind of dormant game that's just out there. It was a great hit, but then just got lost to the ether. It needs to be returned.
Yes.
Former glory.
So actually, okay, I got you. That's that's an awesome. And you know what? I actually have a perfect because Sega did this a lot. Like with the Genesis, they launched to come out and have more consoles. I mean, sorry, more games on their future consoles than they ever did. So here's one that stands out in my mind that blew me away. Growing up as a kid, and then even then in college, and I need to find some other way to play it again. And that, if you played Kid Chameleon. Oh yeah, yes, that game, because for those of you who don't know, like you pick up the masks and you have like the different suits and you get like different abilities, and they can even have like your Jason Voorhees one where you throw like you throw like the meat cleavers, and it's just insane. It has like a very like arcadey feel, but they never came out with a sequel for that. Like that's the only one that's in existence. Mm-hmm. Not that I want them to make like a 3D one, but if you could, if they still kind of kept it in the same like pixel art and updated it, made it 32-bit, and I could buy that like digitally on the PS4, okay, fine. Then for like under $10, then that I would something like.
Nice.
That's one of those ones that always comes to mind. What's one that you have?
So I definitely have two. So I'll give you one now. We'll go through the chat, see if you have another one, and then I'll do my last one. So the first one off the bat, because it's like just always is, we need another Lunar. There needs to be one, because that RPG series is so darn good. I am shocked that there was only two full entries in the series. And I know about Walking School. Believe me, I owned it once. I will own it again, and I will finally play it on my Polymega. But I absolutely believe that Lunar needs to be revisited. So it's
how many games are there in that series?
There are two, technically
two? Okay.
three. You know, like because it's Lunar Silver Star Story, and then Lunar Eternal Blue. And then, there was Lunar Walking School or Lunar Magic School, as it is known. But that was like more of a side story than anything else. But another mainline Lunar game, oh man, I'd be all over that. So we talk about the community prompt, right, from a bit ago. What would a game be that would come out and make it go all in? Final Fantasy VII was my answer.
Yes.
If they announce a Lunar game tomorrow, just taking all my money and just throwing it at a screen.
With that context, I do have if we're talking another one for a series that hasn't had a release in a while, and for something that just came out, so there is another game on that would, if they came out with another 2D 16/32-bit side-scrolling Castlevania, I mean. And I want to almost say that if that was exclusively on the Nintendo Switch, then I would maybe have to like sell my PS4 to get a Switch Lite or find a way, because I love that series, but it needs to be 2D, because there's like the Nintendo 64 versions, but not total surprise that those games aren't worth a whole lot because people don't that it's kind of weird when I think we've talked when 2D games go 3D, it's kind of like when you're expecting them to be 2D. So that would be one of the things, even more so for me than another Zelda, just because all the Zeldas now are 3D, and I don't think Nintendo would go back to making a 2D one, but they haven't touched Castlevania I mean,
Konami hasn't done that in a really long time, so that would be kind of cool. So going into the chat, Rigatoni wants to bring back Batman NES Sunsoft Batman.
That's actually I owned that back in the day. That's actually a really good version of Batman, surprisingly.
And it also had that Sunsoft bass, which was awesome. Those chip tunes were
the music in that
were pretty great. George Games is Descent.
Ooh.
Killer pick. That's a killer pick right there. Descent,
I feel embarrassed. I didn't even think about that. That's a great one.
Another one. I mean, and that goes way back, because there was only two of those, and then it basically just was it. I would love to see another one of those. There was something that kind of hinted at Descent, and I forget what it was. I think it was something we were playing on the Evercade, actually, like something that had that kind of feel.
Oh, then the Mega Cats 2 collection,
2D Descent. Yeah,
the game where
you're right. It was on the Mega Cat.
Where you're that tank.
Was it? It was on Mega Cat 2, right?
Yes. Yeah. It was like
Arceus Revolution.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Horrible names. Yes.
Yeah. Totally want to see that. George also says Mario Kart Double Dash. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. I mean, but really, once you get to 8 Deluxe, I think it's like they've just amalgamized Mario Kart into almost kart as a service, right?
Yes, they might as well.
I mean, that game is just kind of like the end all be all. Like 8 Deluxe, I think to me is just like they kind of nailed it. It's cool. Fun, good wrestling games. Long live Here Comes the Pain. Yeah. Some of those old wrestling games are were pretty awesome. And people love that stuff. Like they go back. Raw's War and the original SmackDown games. All that stuff were really, really cool. I'd even go so far back as some of those 8-bit the WrestleMania games and that kind of stuff. Those were fun. And it would be kind of cool. I mean, we did get kind of a new one, the Retromania Challenge, I think is the name of that game. Where
But you
there
can't pick. You can only be like one wrestler, and you can't.
yeah. But there's, I mean, they added some new ones now in DLC. Like you can get yourself in the game somehow. It's kind of crazy. How far back counts as retro? That was 2 weeks ago. Conversation there. I think it's in the eye of the beholder. I cut it off at 32-bit really for me, but then I had to loop in the 64. I mean, it's all relative, right, as to what your age is. And
True.
and I think retro is really what you grew up with. After you've reached the age of 25 plus, what you played when you were a kid probably is retro to you. So Chris Westerman, boom, Skies of Arcadia. It's another amazing series. There's another one I just saw right here. Ricatoni is agreeing. Skies is a good one. Also Lunar, but given the AAA treatment again, yes.
Yeah.
Another Skies game or another Lunar game with that super edge. Have Square do a deal with Game Arts. Get the IP for Lunar, and Skies of Arcadia was a Sega game, so
but they have a port of it. There's like a version of it for GameCube, so
yeah, they could get it. They could get that and do that. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring back movie games where 90% of the game had nothing to do with the actual movie. That's hilarious. I am all about that. Art Glad and Grandia, another amazing RPGs. Vandal Hearts is another one. Another Vandal Hearts would be great. The one that was on PS3, I actually wrote a guide for. It was the only game I ever wrote a guide for. But I wrote a guide for the game, for that PS3 version of the game that came out. It was a downloadable, just a one-off game. But Vandal Hearts is another great one. It's in the same vein as Final Fantasy Tactics. It's a tactical RPG. Fantastic series. That one's a little like that almost might lead into a guilty pleasure thing too, because in Vandal Hearts, and it's M-rated, which is weird. These little chibi guys. But when you get to the thing and you're like, you kill an enemy, they just explode. It's pretty wild. It was a Konami game. That game. Rick Tony loves Grandia 2. Yes, Grandia 2 was fantastic. I agree wholeheartedly. Battle System was the favorite. Another drop. Xenogears. Yes.
I need to play Xenogears.
Another DLC is coming to Mario Kart Deluxe. Is it really with 48 new tracks?
Wow.
I really hope what they do is they attach that to that family plan thing. With the Nintendo Online Plus.
Oh yeah, instead of the Animal Crossing, and you get the 48 tracks.
If they attach that new DLC for Mario Kart 8 to that, makes me a happy camper. Because one, I just purchased it because I got my Switch back up and running as my Valentine's Day present. With a copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the kids. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, didn't you say that you got like the new dock? Like that was one of the. I remember that was one of the items that you thought was lost in the flood, but magically found it one day. And
I could have sworn that it was in its case. And the case was downstairs. I found it, and I didn't even open it. I was just like, nope, sorry. Tears are being shed right now. And I put it in the garbage bag, and I was like, I can't even look at this thing.
That's awesome. And then what'd you get for Valentine's Day? You got the new dock?
It was in a box upstairs. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I got a new dock. I got 4 of the, like those cheap third-party controllers. Those $20 jobbies.
Oh yeah.
But they're wireless still, which is kind of cool. So I got 4 of those, and then a copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Dang,
that was my Valentine's.
Quite a Valentine's Day present.
It was
awesome.
awesome.
That's awesome.
I was very surprised. I was like, wow, unbelievable.
That's awesome. It's cool to be able to bring like a console. I'm saying old. I mean, it's 5 years into, but that's cool to bring something like that back to life.
Exactly. Yeah. A new Gunsmoke would be cool. Yeah, that's awesome. They need to bring back the light gun. I agree. And what they need to do is they need to bring back the Gun Con from Namco, the one that actually had the force feedback. I loved that thing. I used that thing when I got it on PS1. I had a Gun Con, and I had another one that was a third-party one that also had the force feedback. I like that one a little bit better. I can't remember the name of the company that made it. was probably like Mad Cats or like Hori or something like that. But man, I played the wheels off all those. Point Blank, Time Crisis, Elemental Gear Bolt. I played all those games.
So here's the thing with the light guns. A few of the arcade YouTubers that I watch, you can for a PC. I can't know who makes it, but you can get a light gun, and you can get one that it doesn't use the sensors. Like you just have to. I think the only downside is it puts like a white border around the game, and it's pretty easy to calibrate it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like $300. I mean, they're expensive. They're only for PC. But I mean, you could like load it up with MAME, and it'll do exactly what you want. So
Yeah.
I don't think the technology is there yet to be able to do that with a console. But if they can have the technology be there for a console, and you can get a gun for like $50 or less, then at that or $100 for the game or whatever, then at that point it becomes viable. I agree about it. While we're on the topic of gun games, somebody, I forget who posted this to Twitter, but they posted Carnival. And that's an awesome arcade where you're shooting clowns and stuff. I played that. I beat that in the college I went to. They had that there, and I took like $4 or $5, and I'd be like, if they brought something like that back, oh my god, I'd find a way to play it.
Absolutely. Rick Tony says it's included in that online service expansion. That's amazing. That's like, all right. Well, then I get another wish, which would be great. We had a similar feel to the light gun. Yeah, it did. So did the Move controllers too. The PS3 and PS4 Move controllers. They had that light gun thing where you could play Killzone and a couple other shooters and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Oh, thank you, Rigatoni, because he said, "Yeah, Metal Gear." Thank you. Yeah, that's right. It was like it was one of his buddies brought it over, and they're setting it up in his arcade. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that was one of those. Yeah, he was one of them. Go ahead. Bad with names. We're good. I can always rely on the chat.
Yes. So that last retro IP that needs to be revisited.
Oh yeah, that's right. You said.
And this is going way back.
Berserk! Oh yes, dude. Yeah, take my money.
Yep. Just give it to me. Like I to the point where if I had the ability to do so, I would make it myself. Because I love this game so much. Yeah. It's another one of those games that you can just dip hours into playing it and having one of those like cool modern / retro, like a retro reimagined. I would take that, but I would also take somebody taking the idea of Berserk, you being trapped in a space and you have to like escape, and maybe there's a timeline or something like that. Yes. Give it to me. Give it to me.
That'd be great.
That'd be awesome. I don't know if it is on the to-do list, but if it is, that makes me a happy camper.
Oh, if they did a reimagining of that, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Amazing stuff. So, but that is that. Those are all of the things. So, what do you think? I think that was a great little show.
Oh yeah,
nice topics. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, we have a few minutes to spare if the chat wants to.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
bring
absolutely.
Anything,
you want to
bring anything up? We
come up with something, or talk about some things. It was really cool.
Ask us anything. Yeah, and so we're waiting on people to put just so y'all know, me and Rich, we can have this shared kind of spreadsheet, and as we think of ideas, we just kind of dump them there.
Yep.
And
then, absolutely.
And then good.
Hit us up in the comments, right? If you guys are listening in the replay and you have a cool idea for maybe a topic, throw it in the comments and then we'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
And we'll visit them as we go along.
That'd be fantastic. And sometimes like today, we'll try to group them together and how they kind of relate, and sometimes they're just not random. But yeah, just kind of whatever at the moment, whatever's in the retro news or however we feel or
Yeah.
Tony, we cool having a Miko list. Wow.
Yeah.
We made it off on that one for
yeah.
for a little
bit. Talk about games. I love it. So this gives me an outlet to converse. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great to have you and everybody else here. And chatting games, because that really is kind of like the purpose of the show, is to just have an excuse to come on and chat some cool retro stuff and just get off topic and have all sorts of cool stuff.
Yes, and we appreciate everyone's interaction because that's like Rich said. That's the whole point. We want y'all to interact and feel like you're a part of the show and all. Oh, so I do have a quick question for the chat, and me and Rich have thought doing this for a while. What if we had a phone number, like a Google phone number set up where y'all could like leave us a message? Would you guys call in? Would you guys give us topics? Would you give us opinions?
Oh yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Like type a 1 or say yes if we had that available. Would you
if there was a Google Voice number that maybe existed, would you call it and leave us messages? Let us know.
Yeah. Because that's one of those things I think we were wanting to try out, and maybe you could even call in during the show. Maybe we'd play it live.
That'd be kind of cool. That'd be really neat.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever hear of the Mars Light Con? It's a recent attempt to try to bring light guns to modern consoles. Cool idea, but it didn't work very well. I did not hear about that.
No.
That's cool though. I mean, any attempt to try to do one of those light barless light guns, I'm all about that. And I know that MGR video was all about one of those things. So yeah, that would be cool.
Hey, Rigatoni says he'd be down to call in. All right, okay. I'm like, if nobody says that they want it, we're not gonna do it. Okay, so all I'm right. Like, at least one person. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make this happen. So, and we may already have the phone number.
We might have already thought about that a little. But yes, so that'll be a thing. Besides the next 2 game collections, when do you think Blaze will announce it? I mean, I think that's clearly. We're on the 15th of February. There is no indication of doing anything in the next week and a half. So clearly it's going to be end of March, right after the cards drop.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's what they said in the Evercast, or I think Sean said they're waiting for everybody to get their VSs out there.
That's exactly right.
That would
and then we speculated when that was going to be, which is in the next week or two. People are going to be getting them, and then they'll probably wait a couple more weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think
you just
about
got your massive amount of carts,
Well, I mean, think about it too. It would suck if you're waiting on your VS and they're like, here are all these cool things that you can't do because you don't have it yet. So.
Yeah, I remember the Sega Master System 3D glasses. They were cool. I actually owned a pair when I was little, and because it was in that trade. And I didn't I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I thought, oh, well, when I got rid of all that stuff that I had, I was just like, oh, well, who's ever going to want these? And I'm like kicking myself because they're so expensive.
Oh, I bet it's so. Speaking of 3D games, and actually, you don't have to have special glasses. Did you ever play 3D World Runner for the NES?
I've seen of it, but I have not experienced it.
Where it's like it's from a forward point of view. Basically, you keep running and you keep moving, and if you press select, then it kind of makes that 3D mode. Where it kind of like it splits the colors, and you can use any 3D glasses.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can. I'm trying to remember if it was like Konami or Capcom. It was one of those games that wasn't hugely popular, but the reason I say it still works because when I have like the Friday the 13th box set where that's like all the one, and then like the last Freddy they had in 3D, which is kind of like which is kind of controversial why they did that, because then it's like you're putting in 3D stuff, like spoiler, they blow Freddy up at the end just to have stuff. But anyways, that came with 3D glasses, and like I tried those, and so you can use any.
Oh,
I mean, it's kind of more gimmicky. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it works.
Yep. Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh god, what's that one Sega shooter? Man, I hate it when I can't remember things off the top of my brain, but it kind of reminds me of that.
What, Space Harrier?
Yes, thank you. Yes,
yeah.
It's kind of like Space Harrier because how like you're moving, because you have to like jump over and shoot things, and there's like pits.
Yeah, and on the SMS, Space Harrier, Thunder Blade, and like 3 or 4 other titles, Zaxxon, and a couple more were all 3D titles that were dual carts. There were you get 3D version of the cart and a regular version of the cart.
Yeah, because it was actually like per cart, so you had to have, which was kind of interesting. Like, what if you only had the 3D cart and you didn't have the 3D glasses?
Yeah.
So you could still play it, but it wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, it's interesting. George saying too bad 3D TVs didn't take off. I still own the PlayStation TV.
Oh wow!
Which is the 3D television that was there. The bad thing about the PlayStation TV though is that there was something that was inherently wrong with the design, and the HDMI ports go bad on them.
Oh no!
And I have one of those that is affected. I just cannot throw it away because I want to send it back to Sony one day and get them to fix it. They will. They'll still do it to this day.
They will.
They'll fix it for you. Yeah,
oh, dude,
it's $175, but they'll fix it.
Well,
but I'm like,
you know
what, it's worth it because to look at the screen, it's probably the best 1080p television I've ever seen in my life.
Nice.
27-inch, so it's kind of small, but it's so clear, so clear. It's an amazing television. So, but yeah, I mean, one day when I've got a spare, when I have a spare $175 to toss around.
Right.
So, yeah, you're right. This new Space Harrier would be awesome. That'd be kind of cool. Rick and Tony Blaze roadmap is the only roadmap I'm waiting on. yeah, absolutely. And yes, especially with a higher frame rate. The Space Harrier with a higher, like a 60 FPS, that'd be that'd be really cool.
That would be awesome. Anything
higher than that would be crazy though.
Yeah.
I don't believe there was not a title cart yet. That would be cool though. I would be down for a title cart.
No, totally. But since they're coming out with their own mini arcade system.
Yeah.
They may be like, no, we want it just for us.
Just give me that Space Invaders. Come on. Just throw it on. Throw it on a card.
That'd be nice.
Space Hawk should be revisited. Yeah. That'd be cool. Well, what about Warhawk? That was cool. That was a cool game.
Yeah.
It was. So yeah, I miss. That's a game that I miss. That's another topic we should do.
Yes.
Look at what games that died do you miss? Like Warhawk might be on my top of my list because I got some stories about that game. That's such a people didn't play that on PS3 like very much, but that game is awesome. All right, anyway, so I think we've reached the end.
The end
of the topics. So we're in good shape though. But thanks everyone so much for hanging out with us and doing all these topics, and just generally being an awesome chat. We love having you guys. Please come visit us again. Tell 10 friends to come on in and hang out with us. And who knows, maybe next week there'll be another face for you to see.
Oh yeah,
that's what we do around here. Sometimes we'll go find some people, and we'll get them to hang out with us and chat some cool retro goodness. So
and subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to our personal channels.
That's right,
and everything else. And we created content. Thanks for watching. Bye.
See you guys.
Calling all retro gamers.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.